numbers, math, data. We're going to be taking a deep dive into how Pokemon Unite works. I don't know how long we're going to be here. I don't know how tired I'm going to get. And the thing is, we're probably not even going to break like 20% of what needs to be talked about in Pokemon Unite. Because the game's still like new, and a lot of people aren't really getting into the numbers and how like they hard optimize inside the game. But we got Pokemon Unite DB, so unite-db.com, description down below. I use it in a lot of videos. Because the cool thing is, like, we can click on a Pokemon, and then we can see, yo, there's attack scaling, there's numbers. We can also click on the stats of Pokemon, which makes it even more complicated, because the scaling isn't linear on these Pokemon, and that's why it's going to take so long. So, I don't know, man, get a drink, some snacks. Yeah, I guess that's all. I was like, what else do you need to do? There's not much else you can prepare yourself for. Like, one thing that really broke me was like, alright, what about how, like, special attack Pokemon and how we can talk about special attack scaling and attack scaling and what it means. And I was like, wait, how does Gardevoir have 1,000 special attack? And then you go to level 14. Oh, that's insane, because yeah, like you might notice, especially if we're looking at the stats and we go to specific stat charts on certain Pokemon, like here on Absol, the jump from level 14 to 15, or like just the scaling, gets pretty multiplicative. I think that's the word, you know, and it starts to tick up more than just straight linear, so it gets kind of crazy. But yeah, like that also makes it really inconsistent, because you'll watch Pokemon flip around. Like Venusaur at level 14 isn't as nasty as Venusaur at level 15 comparatively, and then like Pikachu drops off, but also Ninetales just always sitting there as one of the highest special attacking Pokemon, and then Cramorant also has different scaling. So I mean, this is like, I can't even do a video on breaking down every single Pokemon by level and how they scale and at like what their optimizations are and stuff like that, and how it factors into evolutions and stuff. I mean, just even look at like, most Pokemon like level 12, 13. But you almost need a minute by minute breakdown. What's the level 6 Dreadnought fight looking like? What's the second Dreadnought spawn looking like when like everyone has their Unite moves coming online? Then like pre-Zapdos to level 12. Okay, we got some numbers, we got some things to expect. Hit point values and stuff, like the highest hit points Pokemon. We got Blissey and Snorlax kind of duking it out. Crustle magically appears, that's cool. That's going to be great for the sturdy passive. And even if you main a Pokemon and just like dedicate to understanding its stats, it's still obscure, it's still crazy, and that's why we're going to be breaking down this video. So yeah, let's get into the Absol. And I don't have all the answers. I'm not like a 100% master on every Pokemon. I just had kind of like feels, you know, I understand how most of the Pokemon work, and I'm really proficient on a lot of them, and I'm god tier at a couple of them. Like my Cramorant and Lucario, they're nasty. I'm starting to pick up that Talonflame, and I understand Garchomp better than most people. So, but even then, I can like look at these numbers and not really figure it out. So, and I already did a video where I like broke down the best movesets for every Pokemon, but I didn't really look at the stats. I just kind of want to like talk about how this interacts with the items as well. So now we get to pull up and talk about the items. That's why I feel like defenses are so heavily weighted in this game. Like if you look at League of Legends, you know, you buy a defensive item, there's more gold efficiency in defensive items than there are in offensive items, and also it's like gold versus not gold existing in Pokemon Unite, so it's hard to compare. But yeah, if like you just get a tank item and tank stats in Pokemon Unite, they scale really weird because like defensive values are very underwhelming in the damage formula, but health is just a fat stat and you can't really do much about it. So when you look at something like Buddy Barrier giving plus 600 health and attack weight giving plus 18 attack, or Floatstone, which is why it's a trash item, plus 24 attack, you know how many auto attacks you have to hit to chew through the Buddy Barrier? Like, it's so disproportional. Even with the bonus damage on Muscle Band, it starts to diminish pretty hard, and it's based on remaining hit points. So, another weird theory, like item theory, jungle theory, stat theory, scaling. I'm trying to crack this, but I'm not as smart as Freak from League of Legends, and no one else seems to be really wanting to do these things, to like really figure it out. They're just like, Score Shield's good, Muscle Band's good, without diving into it super hard. But yeah, like Muscle Band, I think it's a bad item because like the remaining hit points just doesn't compete with other tank items, and I'd rather just crit for that much damage, actually more than that damage, and then just kind of like create some shenanigans, because Muscle Band's not really super crazy, and it starts to drop off because you would imagine like, oh, 3% scaling is just going to be flat throughout the entirety of the game, but then Unite moves come online, someone pops a Buddy Barrier when they're at 30% health, and now you're only doing 3% remaining of that 30% health, and you have to chew through a 40% shield on it. So, I mean, that's where the numbers kind of get weird for me. And even in flat health situations, oh God, I don't even know where the stat chart is. So, I mean, it's like we're doing 300 bonus damage to a 10,000 hit point Blissey at level 15. Even around like level 11 and stuff, depending on the Pokemon you're hitting, it starts to kind of flatten out. It's like, I'm a champ, 150 more, but Bruiser, like if they have a high hit point value, they're most likely going to have a high defensive value, except for Blissey. So I mean, at least that's on character. That's kind of sticking with how Pokemon works. But I mean, tank Pokemon are just going to, or even Bruiser Pokemon are going to have high amounts of defenses. So for the Pokemon to be taking more damage on the Muscle Band, it's actually negating more damage on the Muscle Band just because of defenses. And since there's no draft pick, it's not like, oh, I'm going to pick the Muscle Band to counter a Blissey or anything. And also, I'd rather just crit and then get the bonus damage on the crit and all of that other stuff. So yeah, like the Muscle Band's kind of foggy. The attack speed, I think, is very negligible because you look at, 7.5%. Oh, God, we haven't even gotten to Pokemon stats yet. We're already 6 minutes into this video. So, very rambly. I'm just kind of like throwing out ideas, and hopefully things kind of get picked up and pieced together. And we have to talk about the items to make sense of the scaling when we get into the Pokemon, because it's like, alright, the flat attack on Muscle Band is worthless, but if you're not only auto-attacking and you're casting or something, because, like, that's the thing about Talonflame. People are like, yo, why is everyone recommending Muscle Band on Talonflame but you? So clearly you must be wrong, because popular opinion is always right, says idiots on the internet. And what social media has warped people into over the last couple of years. Where it's like, but Talonflame, you either want to go in at the end of the team fight and burst people down to finish them off, or you want to initiate the team fight with crazy amounts of burst damage and do like half their health. So immediately, by the time you land and hit an auto attack on someone that's already at half health, Muscle Band doesn't even matter. Like, now it's a 1.5 bonus damage on something that can instantly kill you back. It's not really great. And then, like, the scaling, so I mean, we look at something like the Pursuit, 200% attack, that's 30 damage on a Pokemon that's, like, if you just have Muscle Band at plus 15 attack or something, that's also, like, the difference between Muscle Band at level 20, 30, almost done. But you can't get attack speed any other way. And then what makes the damage formula even weirder is the scaling with levels, but the base values are also just so high. It's not like League of Legends where you look at Annie or something, just a basic champion, and it's like, oh, actually, let me pull it up so I can actually pull up the numbers and just be like, wow, how is it that League of Legends makes more sense than Pokemon Unite? Like, this just makes sense. I do 80 damage at level 1, and then you can look here and see like how the champions scale, and I feel it's just easier to get a feel for how things work, because everything is so front-loaded in Pokemon Unite, it makes it weird. So if we have the stats again, and we like compare level 1, oh, yeah, so like random 3000, Gengar actually has the most health at level 1, and then you go to level 15, where it's like, Gengar ends up at 72, so from level 1 to 15, playing out pretty much the entirety of the game, Gengar pretty much just doubles its hit points, even other Pokemon like triple it at most, but then you look at other games like League of Legends, where even squishiest of characters, they're quadrupling it pretty linearly, and if we knock off like the last level in Pokemon Unite, it even makes it crazy, where it's like, oh, Gengar is really only doubling its health, gaining a lot of special attack into weird scaling. Like, the math actually works. The game seems to play out pretty clean, but it just isn't straightforward. And, like, this throws in that extra layer to where it's like, oh, level 5, you get the Pursuit, compare it to the average level 5, 6 stat line on Pokemon, where you're just hitting for this on a lot of them. Where it's like, oh, Cramorant's got 4,000 health, a little bit of defense, but, oh, man, I forget. Like, I feel like it's one defense, or like, crap, I'm losing it. I was just trying to find some kind of like really elegant formula to explain it, to where it almost feels like, 1 point of defense, but like if we just round it up, so 10 points of defense is roughly like 1% damage reduction. I found this video and Google Doc spreadsheet from Huebert Does Gaming, and he seems to be the only one, like the only other person kind of taking this seriously and really charting it down in a good way. He did a lot of testing as well. So I mean, as we can see here, 174 defense, roughly translating to 22% damage reduction, but then when we get into the higher numbers on some Pokemon, like Slowbro, 421 actually puts us under the 1% per 10 defenses, and the video kind of reflects that. At level 1, you're taking X amount of reduced damage on just the very low stats from the focus band, but it even starts to drop off from that. So level 15, on the high end, you're only getting 1.5% reduction, but 3% for the more squishy Pokemon, which kind of shows that, like, it does seem like tank stats are more valuable when it comes to, like, squishier Pokemon, and then as you get it starts to drop off. It's not as aggressive as League of Legends, which, once again, I'm trying to look for those elegant formulas and just easy ways to where my brain can understand it compared to other games I'm familiar with. And I don't think it's because, like, I've trained myself on League of Legends numbers, so Pokemon Unite's weird to me. I just think that Pokemon Unite doesn't, like, it's just a completely different beast that almost no one can understand until we actually, like, we just need that elegant formula. We just need to break it down to, like, in a very easy, simplified way, but that seems to be pretty hard. And when we go back into the stats, again, like, if you just go for Focus Band plus an Assault Vest or a Rocky Helmet, that's the only other way of getting extra defensive, like, raw defense on a Pokemon. So if we look at the lowest defense at, like, level 10 or 11 or something, 100 on Gardevoir. So Gardevoir goes to 170, maybe 200 or something. Not fantastic. Snorlax, though, the other tanky Pokemon, they're already in the 300s, and when they get, like, their huge tank power spikes from, like, the level 14 to 15, or even those later game stats, it's absolutely absurd. So it's like, yeah, Crustle is just going to be untouchably tanky compared to the Gardevoir, whereas in League of Legends, you just buy tank items, and you can actually get some weird, like, you can get more impact. You can turn a squishier Pokemon into a tanky, or a squishier champion in League of Legends into a tankier champion than what seems even close to remotely possible in Pokemon Unite, just because of the low values overall. So that makes things weird, but what I've been trying to get to for, like, the last 5 minutes is, like, yeah, I roughly could figure out what 80 magic damage is going to do at level 1 when the average on the health is around, like, 500 or something. Pokemon Unite, it starts off at, like, times 10 but lower, and then scales to times 10 but higher compared to League of Legends stats. Makes it kind of wacky. And then as I level up, my stats are going to be getting natural damage as I put points, or my abilities are going to get natural damage to put it into that. Pokemon Unite just seems to kind of wipe this out, where it's like, oh, instead of upgrading your moves to get stronger, they start out really strong, and then they get a little bit of power from levels, like 20 per level. I mean, that is 200. So we are getting 50% more value in an ability as we level up to, like, level 10 or 11 compared to in League of Legends, where we're actually getting up to 3-4 times our base ability with the scaling. And I can look at League of Legends and be like, 75% AP scaling. I know roughly what I need to do if I get 600 AP on a champion and then, like, their entire kit also scales or something, where it's like, okay, every X amount gives me that X amount, and then it makes a lot of sense. But then the Pokemon Unite scaling, it makes less sense, and the stats are harder to come by because it's all, like, I think that's another problem. Is the items really feel like they give marginal increase, but they are still impactful. Like, the right item set is going to make your game a lot more comfortable, and then it scales into your base stats. But your base stats start off high, so there isn't really that much scaling, and I think that's where, like, the level diff comes into play. Whereas, like, if you have 2 levels over an enemy Pokemon, so look at all, it's a mess. It's just a complete mess. I don't know, random hit points, Greninja. So Greninja is going to go and have, like, 400 more hit points. So that, like, just that little bit of advantage that starts snowballing away adds in some crazy stuff. Also, the attack is going to go up by 62. So we're going to like, just the amount of effective stats. It's effective. It's kind of like buying items. Your gold advantage translates into buying items. If you're, like, an entire item ahead, it just turns into something that feels unwinnable. And with this, it's like you're actually getting multiple core items ahead just from a simple level or 2 advantage. And even though it's, like, small percentages, it all adds up. Not only are you 400 hit points ahead, so you're 10% more hit points, you also have, I don't know, 40 more defense, like 30% more defense or something, which translates into that further damage reduction. So you're effectively, like, 15% tankier than them, and you're also dealing 20% more damage, so those stats just end up insurmountable, like, effectively an item diff in League of Legends or something. So, and the numbers get crazier as you look into other Pokemon. My goodness. Let's do attack. Yeah, like Zeraora, 437 attack versus 5, what? Zeraora gets 100 attack in 2 levels like that? So yeah, now he's just popping you. Now there's nothing you can do about it, and then also the tank stats and whatnot. So we haven't even gotten to Pokemon individual abilities, and we're just on crazy absurd stat theory, and these numbers just get more understanding and fleshed out. And also crit rate does scale with Pokemon. Any Pokemon does scale to crit, starts out at 0, ends up with 5 to 10 to 20 somewhere, so good luck, have fun. And then the last thing about tank item value, so hopefully maybe, like, I'm going to be going into the stats blind, and maybe this, like, preamble actually Giga Galaxy brains this one, where I start understanding things better. I don't know, and hopefully you guys, like, this is just a look at the game. It's not like, well, if you do this and this, and then you take it by the coefficient and that, and you apply it by this, and then you actually factor in how this works with the scaling, you know, and then you actually get, like, perfectly optimal, efficient play. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to discover that. Someone with a math degree that's infinitely smarter than me can, again, make that into an elegant solution. But until then, it's like, oh, as long as this gives you a different way of looking at the game, then maybe skill is going to be increased somewhere. Because that's like the weird, like, also why you don't upgrade Focus Band if you're getting an effective 1% more tankiness to actually 1.5% more tankiness on certain other super squishy Pokemon. But I mean, like, 30 defense, so 3% rough damage reduction on a Pokemon that has 6,000 health is 180 effective health, whereas Buddy Bear is 600 health. So, like, flat hit points, and also why Eos cooking can just be disgusting as well. Just kind of means, like, yeah, Eos Cookie on any Pokemon is more effective health than any amount of tankiness on any other Pokemon, even if it's like a super squishy Pokemon that needs defenses, because the scaling is pretty flat, but does taper off, so it's not directly linear. So if I said directly linear in the beginning, again, that was me trying to search for an elegant way of putting this down. And also why just other things don't really make sense, and it gets pretty ugly from there. So, can we finally look at Pokemon? I created so many tabs, I'm now lost. So that's why it gets weird when it's like, okay, a Pokemon ends up with a lot of attack and then has weird amounts of scaling. And Absol is also ugly because it's like basic attack modifiers. Absol dashes, Absol hits back at the target, enemy's cooldown is reduced, fails to hit the back, then the damage is halved. So that's your basic attack. Yeah, your next basic attack is empowered, is effectively what's happening here. Pursuit itself doesn't deal damage, and if you just don't get the bonus damage, you're effectively just doing a standard auto attack. If you hit from behind, then you're actually a standard auto attack plus a little bit. So it's like Ezreal Q, Gangplank Q, where it's like 100% attack scaling plus like some base damage. That's what's going on here. And then that base damage also scales. And I'm guessing that sheds light on Absol, so I mean, wait. We might actually be accomplishing something here by looking at stats and understanding why things are filthy, even though the numbers don't make sense. And I think that maybe, like, just playing the game where you get a feel for things is also pretty important, where it's like, I don't know how or why, but if I Hurricane Surf someone with Cramorant, they're taking half their health. I'll just piece it together from there, and I'll figure out the rest. And I wish it did more, because I'm a Cramorant main, but that's just how it works. And that's why it's disgusting, because now you're getting the basic attack bonus shenanigans, and I'm guessing this crits. Like, this applies to your crit modifier, which is why at level 5, suddenly you take 2,000 damage for no reason on that pure RNG crit, by the way. Oh, actually, Super Luck is just flat 15%. And then the stat scaling shows Absol going 5, 10, 15. That's even more BS than I thought. So that means flat Absol is just going to have a 20% chance to crit you. Feels way more common than that, but I don't make the rules. And then there's also the 8% from its items. But even before Razor Claw and then the super item enhancers, it was like 24, or not even, yeah, it was 24%, because 15 plus 5 is nuts. But then we get into this, so yeah, like maybe all this just gets crit modifier, and then that makes a lot of sense, and then that's why it really hurts. Psycho Cut, like it just goes out there and then debuffs and yeah, so debuff applies extra damage next 2 times. Absol hits them with an auto attack or another Psycho Cut, and it's that. So I mean, again, that modifier just going into crit, probably what really does it. Damaging, debuffing, and slowing. So I'm guessing the damage, and then it also has extra damage. So is this like the first Psycho Cut, and then just does that every time you hit? I don't know. We don't have like the crazy things, and then this also 1.5 RSB, and then if the Sucker Punch goes off from the Absol being attacked or the target attacking, you get bonus damage, do 1.5 more. yeah, Absol's kind of weird. So it's like, this is a really bad place to start, even though it's alphabetic. Single target bonus, so it becomes a boosted attack every third attack. Their defense is lowered. If this boost attack hits only a single target, deals increased damage. So yeah, it just does all that. And I'm guessing that's just got to be base. So when Absol crits, everything is being multiplied by like an infinity edge or something. Very hit or miss. Now we can get into Blastoise. So this is the big stuff right here. It's like you're in Torrent, and then you're just destroying people. So this is where the numbers start getting really huge and really crazy, because like Water Spout inside of Rapid Spin is 8 instances of damage. So 8 with a 36 special attack, and also just like boom, pretty much 1,000 base damage. Okay, so if they're sitting in it, that's 1,000 damage with another 200. Yeah, actually over 200. So yeah, with just a silly 300. What? Wait, math? Yeah, that's 288. My brain was shutting off at just like the comprehension of that number. I'm like, well, 3 times 8 is 24, but they can't. That's not the real number, right? And then you just add, yeah, I know how to math, guys. It's just, wow. So then that's when we go into stats. That's when we go into the item efficiency and whatnot. That also brings up the dreaded Google Doc of Wise Glasses versus Specs. Spooky. Technically I wouldn't need to bring that up in this video. I've already shown it a lot. Effectively, Wise Glasses is not worth it on any Pokemon except for Gengar because of its absurd scaling, Gardevoir because of its absurd base special attack, and maybe Cramorant because Cramorant's weird. We don't know the interaction with Choice Specs now that it exists, but Choice Specs flat damage I think always beats out the other options now. And then you can just kind of look at this where it's like, yeah, pretty much 2 scores to 3 scores is just going to be better in practically every situation. So if you can find a way to get 3 scores by level 11, you're ahead. But even then, if you're behind, it doesn't matter too much on a lot of Pokemon, because actually level 3. Okay, so let's just take random Pokemon. Blastoise numbers. Actually, yeah, we want to look at Blastoise for this, and then hopefully I'm not going to explain it for any other Pokemon. So Blastoise, level 20 Wise Glasses, level 10 is 257, and then 2 scores is 260. Ooh, 3 special difference or 13, and that 13 with the 300% scaling is 40 damage, but actually less than that. So like 35 damage. The difference between 1 score and Wise Glasses is 35 damage with all of the crazy scaling that Blastoise has. And it does like change around, the numbers do get weird, but this is why like the game is just so hard for me to crack. And I don't know who else has really like cracked it or gotten into that theory to where, make it make sense. And even if we're looking at it like this, alright, so Wise Glasses, even at level 30, is plus 39. So that times 3-ish, it just doesn't make sense on the numbers when a Pokemon is ending up at, I don't know, 20% damage reduction, 25% damage reduction, and 6,000 health. So you go 120 damage, but you also have the damage reduction. Like, let's just say Wise Glasses gives you 100 post-mitigation damage on a Pokemon that has 6,000 health. Yet we still get melted by something like the Blastoise. Yet it feels like the Wise Glasses make sense, but if you go to just the items, again, I have too many tabs open. If we go to just the items, it's like, alright, this gives us 100 effective damage every 8 seconds, or however long the cooldown is. Water Spout, 9 seconds. And then that also ties in with our Rapid Spin, which is 11 seconds. Like, every 10 seconds, we get 100 bonus damage on the Wise Glasses. Or do we permanently just scoop up the 600 health? Which is like a minute. And in the course of the game, yeah, that's fine. We can also add 3% damage reduction to that, as well as 270 health. So, I mean, Assault Vest just survives multiple Rapid Spins, regardless of the passive. Aeos Cookie eats a countless amount of these, depending on how many scores you have. So, that's why I think, like, you just get into it more and more. It's like, the scaling doesn't matter. It's like the base damages are fat. Like, it's really the base damage that matters, and Wise Glasses, or special attack items, or even attack items on attack scaling Pokemon, they're just there to make you feel good even though they suck. there is more to talk about, though, because we do have the 21% special attack for the 10 hits on Rapid Spin. Now, Rapid Spin radius is lower, so you're probably not going to, like, just sit inside of them. Like, they're not going to let you sit inside of you, and then, or sit inside of them, and then do all that damage. But, I mean, like, even get an extra 100% scaling, that's extra 40 damage from the Wise Glasses. Okay. Surf. Like, it's just that base damage. That 800 plus 180 with your core special attack is just going to rock into you and deal like 1,000 damage because defensive mitigation isn't really that crazy. So, let's go. Let's hope that this lines up. Blissey, dang. I was hoping like there'd be a squishier Pokemon. Like, you surf into a Cinderace at level 10. It only has, 83 special defense. Poor thing. So, yeah, that's why you still, like, with or without the Wise Glasses, you're surfing into Cinderace for like 1,200 damage, so almost a third of its health. And then it's probably gonna have Buddy Barrier, so a quarter of its health. Like, that seems about right. Like, they get chunked, and it's all from the base stats. And that's what I, like, my confirmation bias of feeling sad is really here. Like, this Wise Glasses thing, and then looking at certain Pokemon just makes me sad. It's like, I really like the idea and the feel of Wise Glasses on Cramorant, but it just doesn't work. And even going into the choice specs, 40% special attack every 8 seconds. Like, it's like a mini extra ability. 60 plus 40%. Like, for wild Pokemon secures, I think Wise Glasses, choice specs, score specs has value. And we get into Pokemon like Gengar, it's giga disgusting on how much scaling that Pokemon has. But yeah, like, plus 40% special attack at X level where you have X special attack. I'm just going to give her that. I don't want to look at it anymore. So, level 6, special attack Pokemon. Some of them have like 200. So, I mean, Gardevoir's getting an extra 140 damage into a random Pokemon. Like, let's say 140 damage on level 6 Cinderace, wherever that boy went. Right here. Oh, he's... Okay, yeah, yeah, so Cinderace is, like, at the lowest. So, I mean, kind of significant that an item just gives you 4% bonus damage on a cast from full health, but then Muscle Band is just a raw attack that does 3%. But much like in Pokemon and League of Legends, and pretty much everywhere, like, special abilities, since they don't have persistent auto attacks factoring into them, defensive values are just higher. So, like, you're actually mitigating more off the Muscle Band than a special attack choice item, but you're also not hitting every time. So, I mean, it's like, 160, though, like, does that matter? Now, you are having, like, yeah, you are rocking base damage into it. I feel like there's rare situations where it feels like it matters more, but maybe it doesn't, just because Pokemon Burst is insane. And maybe this could exploit a flaw in special attackers to where, like, all special attackers except for maybe Gardevoir and Gengar are actually just completely fraudulent. And Cramorant, I think Cramorant, there's got to be a case for Cramorant, right? He's Surf Hurricanes you for half your health, but you just don't add any more to it. So it's like, yeah, you just play tank special attackers and you hope you get an extra ability rotation that matters, because scaling doesn't do anything with how high the base hit point values are on Pokemon, and it just scales into, like, meaningless and getting weird. I don't know. Blissey, it's hard to, like, break down tank and support Pokemon because it's mostly, like, the healing value. I think Wise Glasses or choice specs on Blissey makes sense because you're giving your ally stats that can't otherwise be given. Like, oh, them getting extra 100 health and healing? I don't care if I'm giving up 300 health in an item. My ally getting supported for just bonus stats, just raw stats. It's like the rare case where, oh, Pokemon that has healing or shielding values, you can actually equip an item on yourself to give them effective stats. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense, because, like, that's how scaling works in all games. But in Pokemon, since I've been talking about how weird the items are and weird scaling versus base values are, it seems like a remarkable thing to do, where you sacrifice your own base efficiency to give less effective stats to an ally. But, I mean, damn, that means Greninja gonna pop off if we have this, where 360, or, like, so 3.6 times goes into healing. Wise Glasses or specs. Wise Glasses at 39 at level 30 or 29 at level 20, depending on, like, how we're going to factor this, is like, boom. Every charge is an extra 100 health or more health. Okay. I see it. That's spicy. I think there's value there, but it doesn't work on just mages, because if we get into Pikachu, it's really sad. Maybe we don't look at every single Pokemon. or else we're actually going to be here for 10 years. And then it's also weird, like, Charizard, these stats, like, wow, you just go in there and, like, it's kind of like Absol in the way that you just do it. Damage comes in, you're getting multiple auto attacks worth of damage and an ability, plus an extra auto attack of base. Like, yeah, Charizard 240, his attack at level 7 is 219. So yeah, at like random points in the game, it's like, this is a base attack plus another 2 base attacks. Can't crit, I think? I don't remember. I don't think Fire Punch crits. And then an extra basic attack and burn tick. That's just raw attack scaling. So, I mean, like, there's something cool about that Fire Punch, but it's less damage than the casting ability. It does get you in and does set up auto attacks, but it does make things kind of weird, huh? Fire Blast, yeah, you don't want to sit in that. It just hurts, etc. etc. Alright, let's try to take a look at some interesting ones, like Pikachu. I've already shown Pikachu in a couple of videos now, but just look at that 66 special attack scaling. That is worthless. There is no way you get that extra damage, and then it also just has an execute built into it, but that doesn't scale. Like, that'd be interesting. If it was like 4% plus special attack, flat health, like even 50% special attack would make it very spicy, right? Because Pikachu ending up, I think that's fair. Whereas, like, if Pikachu hits level 11, has to give up some durability to, like, end up with, like, 600 something because of Wise Glasses, and then you get an extra 300% onto that. But even against a Pikachu, 300% is less than 10%. You know, it's an extra, like, 5% execute based into scaling that scales with it. And then you're only getting 1 extra percent. I don't know. I think that's why Pikachu just feels a little too weak, you know? It's like, I think you could lose a bit more, because like 4% of missing hit points is only 200% base. Wait, yeah, 4% of enemy missing hit points. So that's actually less than 4% of remaining hit points, right? Definitely. I'm not stupid. My brain can solve that. It just feels and sounds so weird to say it like that. So yeah, like 4%, even 5% at level 11 upgrade, as we just saw, that's 220% hit points. So, or not 220%, just 220 hit points. So I mean, that barely adds anything to the base, and it only applies if it's an execute. I think the execute value could be, or should be, really high, to where it's like, yeah, 5% plus 50%. That'd be cool. That'd also make the pick over Electro Ball be, like, kind of more specific over Thunder, and maybe you get, like, a really cool thing where you get 2 Electro Ball executes in a fight because of, like, a 5-second cooldown as you're going through Thunderbolt and Unite move rotations. But, like, why is this only 49% special attack? Why is this so... I guess 4 times. Okay, the 4 times gives you 200 scaling, and then it strikes. It actually turns out to be a significant amount of damage. It just doesn't burst. It doesn't hit the same as some of these other Unite moves where they are ridiculously overpowered. Thunderbolt comes in, it's mostly base damage. It's all just base damage loaded, and then Pikachu has a high special attack, and the trade-off is low scaling, but low scaling actually hurts Pikachu more because it doesn't get any value from the items because of that, whereas the high special attack, like, other Pokemon just bake that in through items, potentially. That's where we get into Gengar just being disgusting, where it's like, yep, you get Hex, like, 5 times in a usage. 6 because of Sludge Bomb fully. Like, I did the video on the Gengar guide, but I don't remember the exact numbers. I think that you want to go for 4 before you upgrade Sludge Bomb, and then you can get 6 after you upgrade it. But you kind of want to have a little bit of patience. So yeah, like, let's just say 4 boosted hexes, which isn't guaranteed, but it is possible. 400% scaling. Alright, goes to 500%. Actually, no, it's doubling as well, so this is the base damage, and then it actually gets double damage if you land it on the Sludge Bomb to get the reset. So, 200% special attack. That's why Gengar is, like, doing 2,000 damage to even somewhat tanky Pokemon around level 10 or 11. See this base damage. Like, the level scaling isn't there. Gengar getting levels doesn't matter. Gengar getting special attack matters, and then this base becoming 440, and then spamming that gets weird and inexplicable. Is Gengar doing 2,000 damage at level 11? Like, I swear I've seen it happen to me before, right? Gengar doesn't need to be that far ahead to do it. But then at level 11, as we saw, that's a fifth of the Pokemon's health, and he can literally do it. Actually, no, 2,000. I was thinking about 1,000. 2,000. Yeah, that's a lot of health. That's 3-shotting someone, and we've seen it, and I guess 4-shotting someone, if my numbers are a little off. Like, Gengar just seems like it does more damage than the paper says. And other Pokemon do less damage than the paper says. Maybe it's kind of close, because, like, you do that, you add Wise Glasses or Specs into that, and then that's 400. It's over twice as much, 800 plus the 500, 400-ish. Yeah, that's like 1,500 damage at level 11. Maybe those are the numbers I'm seeing. I could swear I've seen Gengar just do thousands. It's an absurd Pokemon. So we got that. Going back into AD-centric Pokemon, like the whole Extreme Speed versus Power Punch, increasing attack by up to 200, reducing damage taken, shenanigans, Power Punch, damage on charge. But even like charging that, it just does the thing, and it also increases the attack stat. So that's another weird thing where it's like charging the Power Punch doesn't increase the base, just increases the attack scaling, but also has the execute baked in. But I mean, like, is it actually an execute, or is that just bonus damage based on missing health? So I think execute might be the wrong word here. I mean, that's another thing about the Pikachu, to where it doesn't execute at less than 4% health. So I mean, I guess all that time was just wasted because I wasn't paying enough attention. But I guess it doesn't make a difference, because if they're missing, like, let's say they have 5,000 health, they're missing 4,000, and then you just do 4% bonus damage, it's 160 extra damage. That doesn't matter. Now, 10% missing health is pretty good. But even then, there are, like, weird things on, like, how that factors and how much bonus damage it does, and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, like, I don't see the case for Power Punch. Meanwhile, Extreme Speed has just 225 attack. And we're not even talking about Bug Extreme Speed anymore. And also, the base damage is pretty high with better level scaling. So, I mean, you land 2 Extreme Speeds, and that's the same as 1 Power Punch. Now, Power Punch does reset, but if you want to use it as fast as Extreme Speed, then you're actually giving up, like, potential charge time and also, like, not getting crazy things in the resets. And then there's also healing baked in, and if you get the auto attack on Extreme Speed, that can crit, thus improving your damage, and it gets weird. Close Combat just got buffed. That's 11 hits of 59% attack. So you're getting 600%, almost 700% just attack in close combat in a super short amount of time. Now, I don't take all those hits, and it also does get a little bit of buff right here, which is pretty nice. And the base damage. Yeah, this base damage just makes it crazy. Like, tank Lucario, close combat. If it finds a way to hold people in there, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. It just, like, Bone Rush giving you the extra resets on the Extreme Speed is also kind of absurd. So that's what I mean. There's like a million things to break down for each of the Pokemon. Going back to the Talonflame, Peck is a joke. Acrobatics is just double damage of Peck, which is kind of weird. Fly, 1,000 base damage, and then 255 attack. And Talonflame has kind of a ludicrous attack. I thought Fly was bugged. Well, not Fly was bugged. I thought Fly had a crit modifier, and that I was just getting lucky and landing like 2,500 damage hits on the Fly just randomly. Not just base damage. There is no crit chance on the Fly. It just does that, and then also has crazy level scaling too, like some of the highest we've seen so far. So I mean, like, you just go in there and you hurt them, which is also why I think the Muscle Band just doesn't work on it as well, and then you just want to get this scaling in there. But then that's also like a Muscle Band argument where it's like, alright, let's say it's a Pokemon 5,000 health. I guess it's just a good baseline. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe the average health at X level over X course of game is 6,110 or 4,212, and I'm doing all my math wrong. But like, so you're getting like 5 more attack on Muscle Band versus like Floatstone, for example, even though Floatstone is trash and use it less than Muscle Band. Razor Claw is giving you 15 attack versus 15 attack, depending on like level 20, 30. It's mostly just about the attack weight giving you slightly more, and also having like X amount of scores. But even then, like, yeah, okay, so you do 2,000 damage to a 5,000 target. They're left at 3,000 health. 3% of that from the Muscle Band is going to be 90 damage. To get that 90 damage on that 255 attack, math. Or, yeah, 255% attack from the math. A fully stacked attack weight is 70. So somewhere, like, at X amount of stacks, it's actually just better to increase the base damage on Fly per auto attack. But even then, like, I don't think the Muscle Band is there. Even on, like, extra auto attacks and stuff. And even on Pokemon like Cinderace, like I said, I'd rather just have the Buddy Barrier because that negates all the damage. Like, 40% shield. Regardless at whatever health you are at, full health or low health, Muscle Band will never offset that through its passive and attack speed and flat attack alone. So Buddy Bear is a must pick on pretty much every Pokemon because it just negates every damage, and it's also a better tank item, and Zapdos and Dreadnought are the game, so big team fights are where the game ends up breaking down. Using Buddy Barrier to prevent your team from getting wiped out, or to dominate in a team fight for comeback experience or snowballing experience, yeah, Buddy Bear is just the best. But then I look at Razor Claw and Scope Lens over Muscle Band, and just the critting and passive damage has to be more than Muscle Band, right? I don't know. So it's a mix of I thought Wise Glasses was just good, but Intuition failed me there. Muscle Band is something else to look into. But I think there's just too much other value where it's like damage doesn't matter. And if we pull up a... God, where's the stats? If we pull up tank Pokemon, who has a high defense at whatever level? Snorlax. Okay, that goes against the lore, unlike Blissey. I mean, like, level 10 Snorlax. Muscle Band just doesn't do anything to it. And you think about League of Legends with like Blade of the Ruined King and like tank shredding items being based on percent. But I mean, just like, and even old Madrid's Blood Razor and also like old Blade of the Ruined King or other things that would just do like flat percent health, like that's incredibly desirable. That is a good amount. That's like a good chunk of your change. That is where you go into your build. Then we have items like Kraken Slayer, which true damage converts into a pretty predictable amount of percent health per attack. But in Pokemon, it's like, it just doesn't feel as desirable because you can't get into hyper attack speed scaling. Cinderace Greninja, kind of like the true only 80 carries in the game. But it's like, again, like, you give up crit instead. Like, it'd be like if you could only build 3 items in League of Legends, how valuable Blade of the Ruined King becomes, or do you just grab 3 crit items on every 80 carry, and there's no room for anything else? But 331 defense, so that's going to knock off... Actually, you can see the exact damage reduction, can't we? Snorlax, defense, 330, minus 35%. Effectively knocking off a percent from the Muscle Band and making it 2%. So 2% of what would be 7,000 health because of Buddy Barrier, 140 bonus damage per auto attack. And it just scales down from there. Doesn't seem like a significant amount. Like I said, I think that's where just all tank items are better. And I don't know how we would do the math on like crit chance versus crit times effectiveness per Pokemon, per auto attack, etc. But like that's why I've been like, Muscle Band ain't it, right? Muscle Band can't be it. Ninetales is a wacky Pokemon. You mostly just get Dazzling Gleam, then hide behind the Aurora Veil, which turns into its own special attack, and every boosted damage is 50% special attack scaling. And a lot of extra base damage. Like, damn, that's how you shred people. That's how you just wreck people. Then you think, oh, I want those 7.5% more auto attacks on the Ninetales. I don't know, like, where the numbers come in on Muscle Band versus that special attack, but I think Tank Ninetales is it. Because if you go either Eos Cookie or Assault Vest, you get 30% damage reduction, and you also get 30, then it turns into 35%. So that means you're getting more effective health, more effective tankiness from the Aurora Veil and or Eos Cookie. And I think that just gets you an extra ability rotation. That gets you extra auto attacks. It gets you extra damage that applies more than if you just like went for the raw damage items, and you also soak abilities and whatnot, so that brings its own effectiveness. Dazzle Gleam isn't really like a lot, and it's so low scaling. Like, you don't want to put special attack items onto the attacker Pokemon in Ninetales that has one of the highest special attack in the game. Second highest, right? Third. It's like third highest special attack Pokemon in the game doesn't want to put special attack items on. Also, it kind of shows like less effective gain, where it's like going from 955. Now we're getting into main series Pokemon game theory on how you distribute effort values. Effort values should be balanced out, where Pokemon has like higher defense, like base defense and hit points. You want to put it into the hit points because you don't go find those stats as much. It's math. We talk about this, where it's like you can just look at this. Going from 955 to 1000 is going to be a smaller percent increase than going from 500 to 550. So, depending on the scaling, you don't really get that. So, yeah, it's like base damage loaded, which is why you just want to stay around and fire off more auto attacks on the Ninetales. Even crit doesn't modify it enough to matter. So, yeah, Tank Ninetales seems to be optimal just off of that. So, again, my intuition feels right. Do I just trust my intuition like 80% of cases? Or and then like there's not enough like hard, easily accessible data to where you just look at it and go, that's how you do it. Even League of Legends doesn't have that, to where people are still like finding and optimizing new builds. And one of my favorite videos is like why pros are playing Sinnoh wrong. And it's just like, yeah, pro players refuse to use the OP build because reasons. Much like why people refuse to acknowledge that Score Shield is objectively bad because reasons. So yeah, Dazzling Gleam, special attack doesn't stack anything onto the Ninetales. Even like Powdered Snow, Icy Wind, the double hit, like, so you have like 200% special attack scaling on the Vulpix, and that converts into damage. Specs would be, actually Specs doesn't do much because Specs does much though, because you're getting a lot of extra damage from your base special attack being so high. But it activates every 8 seconds. So I mean, like, you get like a pretty strong ability, but again, like 400 bonus damage from the Specs versus 1,000 health from an Aeos cookie at that stage of the game. Minus, and then Aurora Veil, tankiness, etc. So I mean, like, getting 200% more getting 2.0 times damage from special attack items sounds cool. Doesn't play out. So I mean, like, base stats just carry the weight of a Pokemon. I don't care about 7% of this in special attack because my scaling is so low, so I'll just go tanky. And then tank Pokemon don't, like, since you can't find defenses anywhere else, those tank Pokemon are just naturally going to have that crazy damage reduction over every other Pokemon, and you can't build into it through the items. So I think it's more of a unique conundrum in trying to solve Pokemon Unite, but I think the core idea is just lean into tankiness. Tank stats cannot be offset by items, and base stats of Pokemon struggle to get there, and then it's like very specific Pokemon, very specific scaling that try to do things. But even then, like, Talonflame isn't going to one-shot a Snorlax or even do a significant amount. It's going to take multiple ability rotations, and Snorlax can just beat up on it. Same thing for like a Garchomp or a Machamp. Machamp is a bruiser, has those naturally high tank stats, so it's just going to soak that and then punch Talonflame in the face and do like half of Talonflame's health. So is my conclusion kind of something I already knew, but it just gets more haunting, kind of like the Wise Glasses doc. Every time I look at the Wise Glasses doc, the light fades from my life a bit more. Is the realization that we're just in a permanent tank meta. Like, Cinderace does pop off in scale, but that's like when you have a Vayne, where it's like, yeah, Vayne's going to shred through anything if it doesn't get immediately locked down, taken out. If Cinderace uses its Unite move and gets to run around, like just prance around the outside of the team fight, kicking people in the face with fireballs, okay, it's going to win. So I mean, it's weird. It doesn't make sense. Nothing about this makes sense. Where it's like special attackers still find a way to succeed for the most part, despite having horrible scaling and ineffective item choices. Pokemon like Greninja and Cinderace and high damage Pokemon can still dominate the game even though we're in what seems like a tank meta, and tank Pokemon don't really succeed like crazy hard at carrying. Like Snorlax doesn't carry. Crustle can carry in the mid game. Yeah, so like it does boil down to like just high damage Pokemon. Zeraora and Lucario being the hardest carries in the game right now because their base stats are so high and bursty. And it's more, like, I think that's it. It's tank meta, but also consistent DPS choose, which means consistent DPS choose through it more, regardless of items. And, like, how does Zeraora do that much damage? Where it's like, it's 6 ticks at 40% attack scaling? So not a lot of base attack being added in, and then not a lot of base stats, and then very low level scaling. But then you find out that you can get up to 200 attack on Voltbzorb, seemingly at any stage of the game, while also having one of, if not the highest attack stats. So then, now the numbers come online, where it's like 649 plus attack items, plus the 200 from your passive. Now you have 900 attack. Yeah, let's make this more realistic, like level 10. Level 8, let's see what that initial discharge does. 324. But the passive is ridiculous. So, 500 attack, when Pokemon have roughly 5,000 hit points. Some tankier Pokemon do have more. Some frail Pokemon do have less. We go back to the numbers here. And also the last one does like double damage. Damages their enemies final tick. Oh, actually, so it's 7 ticks. I think that's what it is. So so it's like 6 ticks and then the last one. So actually deals double damage. Actually makes it effectively 8 ticks. So 8 times 4, 300 something attack. So I mean, like, Discharge just does 1500 damage when Pokemon have 5,000 health and squishy Pokemon have 4,000 health and almost no reduction against it. And then, okay, that's disgusting. That's like 3,000 damage because 130, but times 8. And then 300% of potentially 500 attack. Zeraora makes sense. So yeah, like, just gross base stats. It's really just about gross base stats that don't make sense. That's unfair. Yeah, and then, like, you just pop off. So it's like tank Pokemon don't completely stuff out the game, but tank stats are very viable and make it to where just, like, non-tank items don't work. So that's like the weird thing. Like, again, it's completely unintuitive. It makes sense. Talking about for an hour hasn't cracked it. I don't know if anyone else is like trying to break it down on this level as well. Like, we need someone that has a decade of League of experience. Like, we need to have a decade of Pokemon Unite experience, even though the game's only been out for a couple of months, and then like using freak level of analytics and spreadsheets to really just sit down and look at every stat, every point of value, and how it scales into the game for like weeks straight. But the thing is, the audience isn't large enough in Pokemon Unite for this to be worth it. Like, it would be a completely thankless, unmonetizable job to dedicate the countless hours it would take to solve and optimize this game on a level that we can find in League of Legends, where I feel that Freak also doesn't get enough appreciation for what he does, and League of Legends is the biggest MOBA, or at least that once was the biggest MOBA, and I think it's still the biggest MOBA, but it's still like the player base and audience has dropped off, and Freak will put God knows how many hours into a video, and then only get a couple thousand views, and probably not too much monetization off of it, right? So yeah, I think about videos like this on League of Legends base stats, where this has 50,000 views, talking like just bringing out all the charts and making all the custom stuff, and then like minions and gold. I'm happy his mana video did well. Again, like a 1-hour video on mana that probably took like 10 times the amount of work to put into making this than I did in my video, because I don't have the spreadsheets. I didn't make the bar graphs. I didn't look at every single character in the game at every level at all points in the scaling and then map it out and then talk about it for an hour. I just rambled for an hour on my feel about, on how I think this makes me feel in the game with my experience without breaking down. So like doing that level of work, even for 102,000 views, doesn't seem like that's really worth it. Even at $4 absurd, actually maybe at 60 minutes if someone watches all that. If you load that with mid-roll ads, you could probably hit a $6 CPM. So I mean, would you work 3 weeks to make $600 after putting in God knows how many hours into, like, yeah, would you spend 3 weeks to crack every stat and item efficiency that I've tried to break down, while also making even more in-depth, better work than some of the other things that have come out, just so you could, again, create like an elegant solution to Pokemon Unite? Would you, for, you know, a couple $100? Maybe some people would, because they might do it for free regardless, but yeah, like, I don't know, it feels kind of thankless in the end, and I'm just the one that's soaking. And then just to have a scumbag content creator like me go and pick it up and get 10 times the amount of views because I just break down your work, of course with credit. Like, I try to credit people, but I mean, like, I would feel like I could never give enough promotion, credit, and acknowledgement to the person that deserves it. It reminds me of back in the day when I tweeted out Joe Merrick, when I was like, yo, Joe, I'm using Cerebi a lot for like Pokemon Sun Moon. This was before he became like an egotistical scumbag with a god complex. I was like, yo, can I just like PayPal you $500 because I feel like I've gotten that much worth out of you, like, or out of your site, where it's like, I think you need to be compensated. He said no. So like, he doesn't think he needs it. And I guess Cerebi is like the largest Pokemon news website, as well as just like statistic website or a data website, so he probably does pretty well on the money end anyways. But I mean, like, even if someone is doing well and getting compensated for on a fair amount, I feel like they deserve more for doing some kind of amount of work like that, you know? I don't know what it takes. Like, what is the theory of everything for Pokemon Unite? And have I, like, I didn't have too much objective things here. I think I made it make sense, but I don't think I was like super objective. Oh, I thought the shield was like actually a percent on Lucario's health. No, steadfast shield scales with attack. Christ. You could spend, I don't know. I don't want to say like a couple hours. Like, I feel like you could crack just one. Like, I feel like you could crack the steadfast passive pretty quickly because it seems really straightforward. Like 400, 50 times level -1. Do the math, and then you also apply the attack into it. So I mean, like, you could just map out all the values, but who's going to do that? Who's done that? Unite DB hasn't been like level 1 shield, level 2 shield, level 3 shield. Someone could do it, and then you also have to factor in like common item builds and like plus minus based on items or something. That'd just be like hours of work to chart it out, just so you have it immediately accessible, just so that someone knows what the effect. And then you'd also have to do the math to be like percent health or like effectiveness based off of health on that shield, etc., etc. And then that'd just be like one small part. And even as a community effort, if like everyone just kind of like worked on one Pokemon, threw it into a Google Doc, it would be ugly. It would be kind of like this in the Wise Glasses thing, where you look at it and you're like, this doesn't tell me. This isn't the elegant solution. Whereas in League of Legends, you know, you can kind of look up something like this and be like, oh, actually wait, I've got something even prettier than this. Like, why did, like, this is completely different because I mean, like, okay, this is like the theory of everything for League of Legends, what I'm trying to get at. Even though you can't buy items and like the item builds are pretty limited in Pokemon Unite, or at least the stats you can put into a Pokemon are pretty limited. But like, you look at that, it's like, if you just follow this, you are playing efficient League of Legends from a tank perspective, or like even like some kind of like just damage optimization. Even if you're an AD carry, and it's like, oh, I want to do like one of those weird AD carry builds where you just randomly pick up a defensive item to not get one shot, so that way you're actually putting out more DPS by even going tank for a little bit. There you go. That is your solution. Also, I guess this would have been more helpful in the beginning of the video, but like, I went into my Discord, I was like, hey, does anyone have the formula? No, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be like, oh yeah, I don't have that math degree. I'm like, what's 600 by this and what that means? So, non-linear, as we kind of explained, it does drop off and it does have like more weight when you have lower stats and less weight when you have higher stats, but not as aggressive as League of Legends. But the rough thing is 0.15. I think it's even safer to say 0.15 because you're going to find more skew. Like, maybe that's how the skew goes. It's like you just look at it, defense, 10 defense is 1.5% damage reduction. I think I've roughly been saying that over the last couple of videos since the mobile release, so being kind of close. On my earlier videos, I showed a different chart, but apparently that chart was wrong because in the practice tool, AI Pokemon have different defense stats. Like, they have like less defense just for the AI practicing, or even like CPU matches, I think. So that was messing up the numbers, but now when you get into it, like, that's it. That's how you look at it. That's the start of the everything formula, and the game gets more complicated from there. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just like, again, that hour ramble of game sense, me expressing my game sense. Like, I think I'm onto something. I think I'm right about most things that I want to understand about Pokemon, and it's leading to me being more efficient and you guys potentially being more efficient and just improving Pokemon Unite. But who wants to listen to me guess at how the game works for an hour, you know, to understand, to get like a little better at the game? And again, it doesn't create that nice little, hey, here's how the game works kind of idea. But I do think it's like, yeah, we're in like a weird tank meta, but there is balance to where like everyone can succeed in their own ways, but it does kind of create a lot of slop for the item efficiency, and the game is weird. So it's like, yeah, you just gotta crack open a completely new game. You know, it needs to be solved. And you like, I was hoping that maybe you just take other philosophies and directly solve it. Like, oh, just apply everything we know about in Decade from League of Legends, and then it's exactly the same for Pokemon Unite. Not exactly the same. Like, I'd never expect that. I think it'd be kind of boring if it was, but the philosophies are different. The conclusions are different. Like, I think I'm drawing the correct conclusions, even though they seem wrong and counterintuitive, but also rely on a bit of intuition, you know? And then it all kind of pieces itself together. And like, how do you break this down into like a 5? Like, how do we get all of this optimized spun into a great theory into a way where I can just like look at a list or like a Google Doc or a couple of pretty infographics and be like, in 8 minutes I can explain how Pokemon Unite works and what decision, and then it also doesn't solve it because you still need to make your own personal decisions to optimize it for yourself. Either way, I wanted to end this video around the hour mark, so this last little bit was rambling, but yeah, that's what I mean, like, and even that's still not personalized. Give people the power.